Rabbits often are misconceived as just stupid animals that live in cages. So today we're gonna be putting Cinnabun through 6 different trials that she's gonna have to work through to prove how smart she really is. Hello Buns, welcome back to Cinnabun Sundays, a weekly video series where we talk about all things bunny. I talk a lot about how smart rabbits really are on this channel, but I thought today we could put that to the test. Today we are going to be testing how smart Cinnabun really is. I also am well aware that my brows are super dark. I just got them tinted. I'm going out of town, so they're gonna go down, but I hope that's not too distracting in this video, but I'm aware they're super dark. Rabbits often are misconceived as just stupid animals that live in cages, but a big thing we promote on this channel is that rabbits are capable of learning and growing and being so much smarter than we ever really thought they were. So today we're gonna be putting Cinnabun through 6 different trials that she's gonna have to work through to prove how smart she really is. We're gonna be testing if she's able to find food when it's hidden. We're gonna be testing to see if she's able to figure out different sizes of things. And we're gonna be testing if she can get to food if there's an obstacle in front of it. So let's figure out just how smart Cinnabun really is. All right, so for this first trial, I wanted to see if she could figure out different sizes of treats and if she was smart enough to know that if she picked the bigger treat, she got more food. So I took one of her favorite treats, which are these Selective Naturals garden sticks, and I had one that was full length, one that was broken in half, and one that was really small. I laid the 3 of them out together, showed her that they were there so she knew where to look, and then covered them with a bowl. So I was wondering if when I lifted that bowl, if she would just grab the very first thing, or if she would actually grab the bigger treat. So I lifted up the bowl and she grabbed the tiniest treat. I was like, Cinnabun, we are not off to a strong start. I will say though, in this experiment, I think that Cinnabun was much more into just getting the treat as quickly as she could versus using her brain and figuring out the biggest one. Also, it's worth noting that when I lifted the bowl up, she was closest to the smallest treat. So those are factors that could go into it. But it didn't even seem like she thought about the sizes. She just was like, treat, grab, run. So we're gonna call this first experiment a fail. So for this next trick, I was kind of channeling, you know, those magicians that are out on street corners that have the 3 cups. You hide something under a cup, move them around, and see if you can find the item underneath the cup. I wanted to do the same thing with Cinnabun and treats. So I got a treat, showed her the treat, and I put it underneath the Los Angeles mug. She saw where it was, and I started moving it around. I will say though, this got pretty complicated because the mugs are so thick and big that it was just kind of getting clumped together. It was confusing her. So I decided to scrap the mugs completely and use her stacking cups instead. These are nice too because they're thinner so she can smell where the treat is and really like keep her senses locked in on where it was. And sure enough, when I did the stacking cups and moved them all around, she picked right away. She may have run away with the lid, but she did get to the treat eventually. So this one, I'm gonna say is a pass. The next trick is another like classic sleight of hand trick. I put a treat in one hand and I showed her where it was, and then I closed my fists, put it behind my back, and switched the treat over to another hand. This way the smell of the treat was also present on both hands, and I put it out and had her choose and have to use her senses to know which hand smelled more like the treat. She definitely went back and forth sniffing both hands, like a little stressed out, trying to figure it out. But when she finally did make her final decision, she knew for sure which hand it was under. I'm gonna give her a pass for that one too. So for this next test, I wanted to test her object permanence. Object permanence is something that you actually hear a lot when you're talking about babies, and it's about when you put something in front of your face and you see the object, when you hide it and get rid of it, they're still aware that that object exists. A lot of times babies, once you get rid of the object, they're like, okay, well the object is gone forever. But once you develop object permanence, you know that even when it's out of sight, it still exists. So I wanted to test that with Cinnabun and see if she was able to figure out that just because a treat was no longer in front of her, the treat still existed. So I showed her the treat in my hands, I showed it to her with an open palm, put it behind my back, brought my palms back, let her go searching. She definitely sniffed around, was a little confused, but she did not give up. She was like, no, that treat is still here. and she hopped around eventually behind my back and found the treat. One note with this, with the object permanence, is she's still able to smell the treat, so she's aware that that smell is in the air. So I had treats all over the room, so the smell was in the air regardless. So I think that her knowing that the treat was there still does prove that she has some object permanence. So for this next trial, I wanted to see if she could figure out how to open up her salad container. We brought out a spring mix box from the fridge, and we started by just having it open so she knew, yep, that's where the salad was. And then we decided to break it up into 2 levels, medium difficulty and difficult. Medium is just closing the lid but not sealing it, so she pretty much just had to figure out, okay, lift up the lid. It took her a few tries because she would grab it and then would close, but she did eventually get her head in there. For the next one, we sealed it almost completely, but we left a little area unsealed because it felt unfair to seal it fully, because I actually don't think she would have been able to open it without hands, but we sealed it mostly, so it was definitely harder to open. And sure enough, I put it on the ground and it was harder for her to open, but she started right away ripping that thing open. So I call that a success. So for this very last task, I wanted it to be like an obstacle that she had to get to her treat. So I brought out her stacking cups, which this is one of my favorite enrichment toys. I showed her the treat and I put it at the very bottom of her cups. So she had to get through all of the cups before she could get to it. I stacked it right in front of her and I held it down so she couldn't knock it over and just cheat her way through. And sure enough, she worked through every single cup to get to the bottom. I was actually really impressed by this. I think this was another good test of object permanence, because just because the treat was hidden, she knew it was in there and she was going to work her way in to get it. So what did we learn today? Well, Cinnabun figured out 5 out of the 6 of the tests that I put in front of her, which I think is really impressive. So really my takeaway here is that if there is a chance of Cinnabun getting to food, she is gonna figure it out and she's gonna use her brain to get there. But when it comes to like how big the piece of food is or how much food there really is, she doesn't really care as much. She just wants to get food as quickly as possible, which part of that is just a natural instinct of a prey animal, which is get food as quickly as you can. You don't know when it's gonna be coming next. But I was honestly really impressed with Cinnabun and just watching her figure out all of these different obstacles. You could see her little brain working, and even when she seemed like she was giving up, she kept sniffing, she kept trying to figure it out. And I think that is such a sign of just their brains are bigger than we think. They are able to think through problems. Rabbits really are smarter than we give them credit for. Comment down below if you liked this video and let me know if you would like a part 2. I feel like this video was a really good like level 1 of obstacles, but I feel like there's more things I could add in to test her intelligence even more. So let me know if you'd like me to do like a more difficult part 2. I think that could be really fun. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope this inspired you to go out and test your bunny's intelligence and just see how smart they really are. And I will see you in our next video. Bye, Buns.